All right, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this video is to give students an opportunity to see the types of questions that they will see on the evolution unit test. Again, the evolution unit test is scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday, and we will be doing that virtually online during the time that Cohort C meets with me for period 4. Of course, that's going to be 12:25 to 1:15. The test will go live right at 12:25, maybe even a minute or two before. And then for period 6, the test will go live at 2:15 or maybe a minute or two before. I always set the time a couple minutes before it because it takes a few minutes for it to digest and for it to go live on the classroom. But remember, if you log in directly through Edulastic, you can start it at, I think it's scheduled for 2:12 for period 6 and at about 12:22 for period 4. Okay, so we are going to do these one chapter at a time so we can stay with all the chapter 15 stuff, and then we'll hop into 16, do some random questions, and then we'll finish it off with chapter 17. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Remember, if you have any questions about items on the study guide, use the chat, and I will compile a list of those numbers and we can go over those questions at the end. All right, here we go. Which scientist or scientists is or are usually given credit for the theory of natural selection? Guys, about 45 seconds on the one question items. Let me get my timer set up here. All right, you guys, about 15 more seconds. All right. Okay, here we go. That's going to be Darwin. So remember, when you guys saw in the movie, he was sitting at the breakfast table with his brother. He got Wallace's paper, and his heart must have skipped a beat or two because pretty much Wallace's paper was summarizing his life's work. And of course, Wallace was a big fan of Darwin, so they both chose to go public together and present together. But whenever asked about the theory of evolution through natural selection, Wallace always deferred to Darwin because he had a lot of respect for him. All right, so they both are given credit for the theory of evolution. Okay, on the Galapagos Islands, Darwin observed somewhat blank species with traits that suited their particular blank. What was the trait that Darwin recognized with the finches of the Galapagos Islands? And remember, if you can figure out the answer to these questions, you should do fine on the actual test because the test is multiple choice. Fill in the blank questions, you either know it or you don't. Multiple choice questions, you will actually see what the answer is. You just got to pick the right one. All right, so about 2 more minutes on this one. And also, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how many of these you know, not a bad idea to keep track of the number of questions you get right. So we did one question. This would be 3 separate items. So keep track of how many you get. And at the end, I'll let you know how many there are in total. And again, remember, this is kind of a good gauge just to tell you how much preparation you need to do over the next 24 hours. Again, these questions are harder, so if you know the answer to a lot of these questions, you're probably pretty close, if not have prepared already enough. About 45 seconds more. All right, you guys, here we go. Okay, on the Galapagos Islands, Darwin observed somewhat similar species with traits that suited their particular environments. And of course, it was the beak shape and size of the Galapagos finches that Darwin paid especially close attention to. What are the two main sources of genetic variation? Natural selection acts directly on blanks. Hint, the physical characteristics of an organism. Okay, folks, about 1 minute. Ten more seconds. Folks, here we go. So remember, mutations occur if they're going to occur during DNA replication. Crossing over, if it happens during prophase 1 of meiosis. And remember, meiosis is gamete formation, sperm and egg cells. So we're talking about sexual reproduction. Or it could be, beg your pardon. Let's see, natural selection acts. Hold on. Two main sources. Crossing over or genetic shuffling. Okay, so genetic shuffling means the same as crossing over. Sorry about that. Phenotypes, the physical characteristics, are what natural selection acts on. It doesn't act on the genotypes, it acts on the phenotypes because phenotypes really are the characteristics of the organisms. All right, here we go. Blank presented the idea that only famine, disease, and war could prevent the endless human population growth. Blank suggested that long-necked giraffes survived and passed this trait on to offspring. Blank and Blank's experiments attempted to demonstrate whether organic molecules could have formed before life was present. What are the names of those 4 individuals? Give you guys about 2.5 minutes. About one more minute. About 20 seconds. All right, here we go. All right, so it was Thomas Malthus. It was Lamarck was the guy that thought that you could change your characteristics by really, really wanting it or using it a whole lot. And then, of course, Miller and Urey were the scientists in the 50s that proved that you could get organic molecules from the basic non-organic things found on a primitive planet. Here we go. More chapter 15. Blank suggested that the Earth was shaped over long periods of time, that processes occurred in the past, are still occurring today, and that these processes have shaped Earth's features over long periods of time. What was the name of that guy? Very easily confused with the other guy that talked about ancient Earth and how long it took things to happen. You will need to know the difference between the two. About 30 seconds. All right, 10 seconds. All right, here we go. Is that Hutton or Lyell? That is either one. Combined both of them. What you just need to know about Lyell and Hutton is that they both suggested that the Earth was really, really, really old, and that helped Darwin in understanding that evolution, which would take a very long period of time, had enough time to actually take place. Okay, which means that I do not believe you need to know the actual difference between Lyell and Hutton specifically. Just know that together they helped Darwin realize the Earth was old enough for his ideas to have taken place. All right, here we go. Blank traveled the world collecting specimens and making observations. Later in his life, he proposed the theory of evolution by natural selection, a structural adaptation that protects an organism by copying the appearance of another species is called what? What do we call that when an organism copies the appearance of another organism? And let me make a quick correction here. Okay, about 45 seconds. All right, 10 seconds. All right, here we go. So obviously that was Darwin, and the process of mimicry is where one organism tries to look like another one. Examples of this, there are some insects butterflies and moths that have wing shape, well, not wing shapes, wing designs that are made to look like eyes. Okay. Some frogs that are not poisonous actually have skin. What's the word I'm looking, patterns that look like those that are poisonous. And again, these are variations in their species that give them an advantage. So if you're not poisonous and you're easily preyed upon by predators, it would benefit you if you actually looked like something that tasted bad or that actually killed the predator. So that is referred to as mimicry. Here we go. Give me a second. Okay. Darwin recognized that the finches had many similar physical characteristics. This observation suggests that these finches all have blanked from a blank blank. The theory of evolution states that life blank 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 blankety blank blank blank. What words go in those blanks? So this one is worth 1 point. This term right here is worth 1 point. And then this term here is worth 1 point. Also, there are a few of you in this meeting that may very well not have to take the final. So obviously you're going to want to email me probably by Wednesday. If you take the test tomorrow, we'll definitely know by Wednesday whether or not you have accumulated enough points to lock in your A. Again, my policy is that you need to have 97% or higher with no extra credit. And there isn't a whole lot of extra credit in this class. So pretty much if you have over 100%, probably pretty close, if not there. So after I get this test score entered, after I get your study guide points entered, if you're over 100%, you're going to want to email me to figure out if you have to take the final. Because Wednesday or Thursday is when I'm going to release the final for the, the study guide for the final. All right, you guys, about 30 seconds. All right, here we go. All right, Darwin recognized that finches had many similar physical characteristics. This observation suggests these finches all descended, which means came from, a common ancestor. Evolution is change over time. All right, according to Darwin's theory of blank blank, the individuals that tend to survive are those that have blanks best suited to their blanks. Blank proposed a hypothesis for the inheritance of acquired traits, but does not propose a mechanism or the actual way that it happens. So who is the guy that got it all right, but he couldn't explain how it actually happened in nature? A couple minutes. Okay, about 30 seconds. Uh, 10 seconds. All right, here we go. Okay, according to Darwin's theory of natural selection, the individuals that tend to survive are those that have traits or characteristics or phenotypes best suited to their environments. Lamarck was the guy that had it all right, but he had his idea about how it happened was use or disuse. You use a claw a lot, your claw is going to get bigger. You stretch your neck a lot, your neck's going to get longer. You try to touch the net like me when I was your age a lot, you're going to get taller. Yeah, I didn't get taller. All right, so Lamarck had it all right except for that. All right, on to chapter 16. Here we go. What are three things Darwin and Lamarck had in common? So this is a random question, not from chapter 16. About 20 seconds. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Okay, they both believed that living things evolved. They both believed in evolution. They both believed organisms descended from others or that organisms came from common ancestors. They both believed that organisms were adapted to their environments, and they both believed that traits get passed on to offspring. Of course, the major difference was that Darwin believed it happened by survival and reproduction or fitness, and Lamarck thought it happened by use and disuse. In the past, what events led to rapid evolution due to the fact that new habitats were now available to them? Which scientists suggested that the human population would grow faster than the space and food necessary to support it? All right, about 30 more seconds. All right, here we go. So mass extinctions open up habitats and allow for organisms to move into them. And of course, differences in competition or lack of competition or just lack of being eaten allows organisms the opportunity to fit into their environments better. and to rapidly evolve. And that's exactly what happens with our ancestors, the mammals, after the dinosaurs disappeared. And it was Malthus that thought that the population was growing too fast. We'd run out of space. We'd run out of food. And he's kind of right. I mean, it's not happening, I think, to the extent that he thought it would happen, but it's happening now. I mean, people are starving, and just wait until the climate changes. All right, here we go. Blank blank is the random change in blank blanks of a population. Blank is the process where two populations become different enough to be unable to breed and produce fertile offspring. All right, about 20 more seconds. All right, here we go. Genetic drift is the random change in allele frequencies of a population. And of course, speciation, or the process of new species evolving, means that the two members that used to be the same species but no longer are can no longer breed and produce fertile offspring. They might be able to breed like the horse and the donkey, but the mule itself cannot have its own offspring. Therefore, the mule itself is infertile, and that makes, of course, the donkey and the horse different species. Okay, what effect led to the speciation of finches that ended up on the Galapagos Islands, or what is the first step in speciation? Natural selection on blank traits can lead to changes in allele frequencies and to evolution. 5 conditions are required to maintain blank blank, such as random mating. What type of isolation is exemplified by Galapagos finches being separated from the mainland finches? Give you guys a couple minutes for that one. All right, about 30 more seconds. All right, here we go. Okay, it's the founder effect, meaning new organisms founding a new population, arriving on in a new habitat. Natural selection acts on single gene traits that can lead to changes in allele frequencies and to evolution. 5 conditions are required to maintain genetic equilibrium. One of those is random mating. And geographic isolation is what happened on the Galapagos Islands. At least a male and a female founded a new population on the Galapagos Islands, and then at least one male and one female decided to go to a new island, and then they evolved on their own and adapted to those environments and gained new characteristics and became different enough to be individual species. That means reproductive isolation had taken place. And then even if species B went back to the original island and tried to mate with species A, they wouldn't be able to produce fertile offspring. And we know speciation has taken place. Okay, on to chapter 17, some recent stuff. Darwin viewed the blank blank as a detailed record of evolution. About 15 more seconds. Here we go. It was the fossil record he viewed as a detailed record of evolution. Okay, list the order from first to last of the organisms that evolved. So again, most recent is up at the top. It means, of course, the oldest, or when evolution began, is down on the bottom. About 45 seconds. By the way, that's a little hard to read. It says bivalves, which are like clams, mussels. All right, here we go. Okay, so the first organism that evolved were the trilobites. Okay, and you let's see, trilobites, then the bivalves, then the roundworms, then the mammals. And the reason why you know that is because these guys had a really large diversity first. Okay, then the bivalves developed their diversity, meaning they were developing more variation. Okay, and then this one started third. Okay, and the mammals started their evolution last. And again, a large part of that was the extinction of the dinosaurs. All right, here we go. Which group is least diverse? Which group diversified soon after evolving? And which group is the most diverse? So again, interpreting this diagram. By the way, you will see a diagram very similar to this on the test. Okay, about 30 seconds. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. All right, so the least diversified, meaning the thinnest on the diagram, is the roundworms. The bivalves started diversifying soon after evolving. You know that because this indicates this is when they first evolved, and then it gets wider really, really quickly. Okay, and the most diverse is also the bivalves because it is the widest on the diagram. Consequently, what's going on over here with the trilobites is this means that previous to the Paleozoic, they had a lot of variation, and that during the Paleozoic, they started to lose variation, and eventually they got very, very narrow, and then when they got to the Mesozoic time period, they became extinct. All right, here we go. Blank was a necessary condition for the evolution of the first life on Earth. True or false? When oxygen levels rose in the atmosphere, 1, there was very little extinction. 2, some life forms survived only in a few airless habitats. Or 3, some life forms evolved metabolic pathways that used oxygen for respiration. So is this true or false? Is this true or false? And is this true or false? About 30 more seconds. Also, for those of you just thinking ahead to strategy on the test tomorrow, there are 37 questions, 38 questions. One of the questions will take you longer than the other 37. So you need to average about a question per minute, question minute every minute and a half. You'll have 50 minutes to complete 37, 38 questions. So as long as you're averaging about 90 seconds per question, you should have plenty of time to finish. All right, here we go. Okay, so blank was a necessary condition for the evolution of the first life, so you had to have liquid water. The idea is that it happened in these tidal pools, warm, milky, primordial soup, they refer to it. There was very little extinction. That's false. There was a mass extinction caused by oxygen getting released into the atmosphere. Some life forms survived in only a few airless habitats. That is true. And some life forms evolved metabolic pathways that used oxygen for respiration. Those would be our ancestors, and that is also true. The first living organism on Earth is most like which of today's living organisms? About 30 seconds for this one. Fifteen seconds. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We believe the first organisms on the planet were bacteria. Remember, prokaryotes starting really, really, really simple. And then, of course, over millions and millions of years, life started to get more complex. All right. Blank is when two species evolve in response to changes in each other over time. Blank is when two unlike organisms evolve to become more alike one another due to the similar environments they both live in. Both of these are right out of 17-4. They're also both on your study guide. Well, of course, most of the items in this game are on your study guide. If it's in the study guide and if it's in the game, it's on the test. All right, about 40 seconds. All right, here we go. Okay, when two species evolve and change due to changes in each other, it's called co-evolution. Co means together. To converge means to come together. So convergent evolution is the idea that unlike species are going to start to become more and more alike each other over time based on the environment that they lived in. So perfect example of that was the mammals, dolphins and seals that live in the ocean, sharks that are fish that live in the oceans, and penguins that are birds that live in the oceans. They all have similar characteristics because those characteristics give them an advantage in their environment. And consequently, convergent evolution is the opposite of adaptive radiation. Adaptive radiation means starting similar and over time becoming more and more different. Of course, convergent evolution is starting different and over time becoming more and more similar. Okay, what happens with the structure of the forefoot? So that is this item down here. Structure of the forefoot through the years. Okay, so this is 50 million years ago, 3 million years ago, ancient time, more recent time. Okay. What are two ways that the organisms change from 50 million to 3 million years ago? And of course, you can use the forefoot in your answer, you can use the skulls in your answer, or you can use the overall appearance of the organisms in your answer. There's lots of possible answers for this. Okay, a little over a minute left. Twenty seconds. All right, here we go. Okay, so the forefoot definitely gets longer, and the toes, you started with 3 distinct toes, merge into a single bone or a single hoof. Okay. Let's see, what are 2 ways that the organisms changed from 50 million to 3 million years ago? They definitely get taller. All right. The organisms definitely get longer. Okay. The forefoot toe bones turn into a hoof, as evidenced here. The forefoot itself gets longer, shorter, longer. And then the forefoot toe bone gets wider. So this is the individual toe bone here, and you can notice that it gets wider here too. And that makes sense because you're going to need more support. You're going to need more strength for a taller and heavier organism. All right. Last questions, kids. List 2 ways that Darwin and Lamarck differed in their ideas. What are the 2 types of rock dating? And then circle the type of rock dating that's more specific and useful within the fossil record. A little over a minute. Thirty seconds. All right, kids, let's finish this one up. Okay, so Darwin believed in natural selection. Lamarck believed in use or disuse. Lamarck believed in some internal vital force in living things. Darwin did not believe in some internal vital force. And remember, that vital force would be necessary in living things if you're, boy, I really want to be taller. Boy, I really want to be taller. Boy, I really want to be taller, for you actually get taller. So those are two distinctly different things. Darwin, beg your pardon. Lamarck believed that if an organism wanted a behavior or trait, they would get it. Darwin did not. So basically, Lamarck's explanation of how evolution took place, Darwin disagreed with. Okay, radioactive and relative dating are the two types of dating, and of course the most useful one is radioactive because it's more specific, it's more detailed, and it tells you more in general. Let's count up how many points we had total. We got 4, 7, 11, 15, 18, 21, 22, 24, 27, 31, 38, 41, 44, 47. So it looks like we had 51 total points. So if you got, 40 or higher, you're probably almost there. If you got 45 or higher, take a break. Take a break. Go work on some other stuff. Do what you do, and then maybe hit it for another half an hour, 45 minutes later on tonight, or maybe during the lunch break tomorrow. All right, you guys, I'm going to stop this video real quick.